Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. So another Sunday, another day at Speaker's Corner. And today we are here with Parvati. And Parvati is a Hindu from India. Yes, your religion. So we're going to discuss a bit about Hinduism. It's not a topic that is often discussed at Speaker's Corner. The reason for that is because we have very few Hindus who come to Speaker's Corner to talk about their religion, their faith. So we are hoping that there will be more Hindus who would step forward and talk about the faith. It's just that there is a lot of misunderstanding amongst the Hindus about Muslims and amongst the Muslims about the Hindus. So it's always good to have a conversation, to have a direct conversation with the person about their religion rather than assuming things about their religion. So Parvati, tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do and what your interests are? Your first time at Speaker's Corner, isn't it?
Yeah, this is my first time and we've been here for a year.
Okay. You need to speak up a bit because I want to make sure the microphone picks up the audio.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I've been here for a year and we're studying fluid mechanics.
Fluid mechanics.
Yeah.
MashaAllah, that's good. And yeah, that's good. What, is it masters?
Yeah, it's a master's.
Okay, that's good. And so about Hinduism, tell us a bit about the basics of Hinduism. Like, what is it that a Hindu has to believe in? Otherwise, they are outside the fold of Hinduism. Can you perhaps give us a bit, just a summarized version of the belief?
So I'm not like a certified speaker of Hinduism, but what I've learned from my family and my upbringing is that it's more about it's more about the same stuff, you spread love and, things like there is no at least according to me, we don't have very rigid rules in Hinduism such that so for example, even when it comes to prayer, so I think that's the difference between, at least according to me, between Islam and Hinduism.
Prayers.
Prayer times. We don't have fixed prayer times.
Right.
And so we have a few things before going to the temple, you take a bath and things like that. But these are things that you need to follow. But I'm not aware of anything that can put you out, that can oust you from the Hindu community.
So, as Muslims, we believe in the 5 pillars. You must have heard about this,
No, I'm sorry. I don't.
Okay, so basically the fundamental belief of a Muslim is in the 5 pillars, which are basically to believe in one God, to pray 5 times a day, to give zakat or charity, to fast in the month of Ramadan, and if you can afford it and are capable of, to go to Hajj once in your lifetime at least. So these are the 5 fundamental, pillars of Islam. So anyone who rejects any of these, they are outside the fold of Islam. Okay? So obviously, for a Hindu, you have to believe in God, right?
Yeah.
So what is the concept of God in Hinduism? Because there are many people who say that Hindus believe in 313 million gods or something like that.
Yes.
How true is that?
So it's not, you don't have gods as a person. So each god represents an idea so you have Parvati. She is the goddess of power, of love.
Sorry, which goddess?
Parvati.
Parvati, okay.
Is the goddess of power.
Is that the wife of Shiva?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they all represent values. So they're not entities. They're not that's what I've been taught. They say you have a god in yourself. Everybody has the capability of becoming a god. In Hinduism, the definition of God, the definition of divinity is to be a better person than what you were yesterday. So the whole idea, it's you have, when we actually go to the temple, you pray to different gods, right? So it's mostly so to Lord Ganapati, you always say you start with God.
Is that Ganesh?
Yeah, Ganesh.
So the elephant god.
Yeah. So things like that. So every god represents a value. So it's not so you do have a lot of gods. You have a lot of stories actually.
How many gods?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
A lot of gods.
Lost count.
You have a lot of values, right? You have a lot of morals. You there are gods for, there is a cloud god, there is different kinds of gods. So
nature worship and creature worship.
So every god represents a different idea. So it's most you kind of respect your nature, your fellow beings. It's kind of abstract, I feel. I don't think that basically, it means like you have this particular God, like you should. It's not gods, it's more like ideals and morals. Like, yeah.
Okay, so they're just like concepts of nature or creatures.
Yeah, that's what I
Like Hanuman is a monkey god and Ganesh is elephant god. So there's a form of creature worship and...
so it's a mythology, right?
Yeah.
You have Greek mythology, so you have Hindu mythology also. So you have stories. From these stories we derive morals. Like, so if you have Lord Rama and Sita, theirs is about a husband-wife union, and how the wife and the husband, they make compromises, or basically how they are individuals, but they also are there for each other. Basically so for me, at least for me, when my parents told me the story, it was so that I could inculcate a moral out of the story. Because when you talk to children, they don't. It's easy to tell them a story and tell them, see, this is what it means. That will stay for a longer time, right? So most of the mythology is like stories.
What makes, for example, you give the example of Ram and Sita, yeah? So what makes Ram God?
Yeah, so Rama he was actually a king. It's not like, so what made Rama God, like, is his really good nature. Like, people believe, so I told you, right, God is something that in Hinduism, they believe is inside you. Like, even you can become a God. Like, you
can become a God?
Yeah, the concept of God. It's not like God does magic or anything.
So I think that that's what we need to understand. The definition of God maybe is different in Hinduism to that in Islam. Because in Islam, when you say God, you're talking about the most powerful being, He's the Almighty. He's the one who created everyone and everything.
Yeah, so
so our concept is not just a good moral human being. Yes, like for example, we believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, and we believe he's one of the best role models, and he's the one who is called the mercy to mankind. Yeah, he's called Rahmatul Alameen. He came as a mercy to mankind. However, regardless of how good the morals the Prophet ﷺ possessed, we do not still worship him. He's still one of the servants of Allah and a creation of Allah. So I think this is where the Hindus and the Muslims perhaps differ in the definition of what God is. Yes, but do you believe in the the Trimurti, or the Brahma, Vishnu, and is it Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have the
Brahma is the creator.
The creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, and Shiva, the destroyer. So these are I know a bit of Hinduism, so that's the reason I know this Trimurti is quite important. So is someone who doesn't believe in this Trimurti, are they considered Hindu, or would they be?
I think so, at least. I mean, I feel Hinduism is all about, you be a better person. You see God in your spirit. I don't mean it in an egoistic way. I mean it in a good way.
No, I understand,
Yeah, you try to be a better person than what you were yesterday. So that is...
So it sounds like Hinduism is more of a philosophy rather than a religion.
Yeah, definitely.
Because obviously everyone also has a different viewpoints on the beliefs and whatever is written and the interpretations in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Upanishads, the Vedas, and so on. So these are the books, the different books of Hindus, the scriptures. How much importance do you give to the scriptures as a Hindu?
So very honestly, I haven't read the scriptures.
None of them?
No. I just know the mythology and the stories.
Okay.
And because this... So we have in Hinduism, we have prayers and we have scriptures where you have morals and stories, but they are also told in the form of stories of gods, and so I haven't read the scriptures.
Right, so it's more like stories, like you keep saying, which teaches you morals.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, what about going to the temple or something for prayers? Is that necessary, or is that also optional?
So it is good to go to the temple, but it's not like if you don't go to the temple, you'll be ousted from the Hindu community. You don't have a line.
You can pray at home.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have to go to the temple to pray.
Okay. And with regards to prayer, another question that pops into my head is, do you have to pray to these pictures of like Ram or Shiva or Krishna or whatever gods you have an affiliation to? Because I think, because you're from South India, I think they have different, gods that they revere compared to the ones in North India, compared to the ones in Bengal, in East India, and maybe in Gujarat, in West India, Like, I think every region has their own, special deities that they they pray to or they idolize. Is that right or?
Yeah, it's right. It's also very personal, actually. Like,
Yeah.
for example, my mom, she does not really look at a picture and pray. She closes her eyes and prays in her head.
But she still has the image in front of her?
No, she just closes her eyes.
Okay, she closes her eyes and prays.
Yes, because
Yeah.
so she has arthritis. She can't sit down, so she sits on a chair and she just prays.
Okay.
But
What about
my-
yourself?
I actually look at the God. I look at the God and I think I close my eyes. It's very you
Personal.
just
Yeah, it's personal.
and it just happens, right?
Wait a minute, brother. We are just discussing about the basics. Yeah, just bear with us, please. Yeah. So the reason I asked about the idol worship is because in Islam, that is something which is prohibited completely, like utterly. To have images of God is something prohibited not only in Islam, also in Christianity, I believe, and obviously in Judaism as well. So what we consider the Abrahamic faith, because all three religions, they consider Abraham to be a prophet of God, and they have a common, common understanding, and there is a lot of commonality between these three faiths. So in all of these three faiths, creating images of God is something that is completely prohibited. But I think in Hinduism, it's a big part. It plays a big part. From what I've seen.
So the reason why this is what I think, okay, and I'm pretty sure it's true. The reason why we have pictures is so that you feel more connected. In the sense, you have a picture in your head. It's always like that, right? So if I think of a tree pops up in my head, right?
Yeah.
So if I think of wealth or something, goddess Lakshmi. If I think of Lakshmi, so you try to associate with pictures. So it's more easy for you to think of what you want to pray about, or it's also a shortcut.
But these pictures are man-made, aren't they? No one has seen any of these gods or goddesses. They have just, because I've also seen different pictures.
Yeah.
Yes, so
it's
it kind
all
of
symbolic.
Yeah.
So Parvati will have a trident, so it's all symbolic. Whatever they hold,
Yeah.
it's not like the facial features are going to be the same for everybody. It's just that the things that they hold, the kind of attire, the color of the dress they wear, it's all symbolic.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not compulsory for you to pray in front of a picture or an idol.
No.
It's not compulsory. It's just for something for you to focus on.
Yeah, so see, we believe in meditation, right? So we think even closing your eyes is prayer. Like, as long as you are praying, you can do it in any form.
Okay, interesting. What about the different, I don't know, do you still have caste system in Hinduism?
Yes, we do
still
have
do?
castes, but that is, so it started from a really long time back. We still do have castes.
What does it mean? For the viewers who don't know.
So it started with the occupation you were doing, like long back.
Right.
So there were
The kind of work that they were involved in.
There were four kinds of people, I think. So the ones were kings, like the kings, and so they were called Brahmins, and there were.
No, actually, the kings were not the Brahmins. The kings were the Kshatriyas, aren't they?
Yeah, Kshatriyas.
Yeah, so the Brahmin is the educated, scholarly.
Yeah, scholar, and there were good workers, like.
That comes later. So you got the Brahmins,
So
then you have the Kshatriyas or the warriors, the warrior clan, and obviously the kings as well.
Yes.
And then you had the Shudras.
Yeah.
Or is the Shudras the lowest?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Which is like the untouchables even, I think.
So the thing is, it started with the occupation. They were all respected earlier, but I think it got translated in a really bad way with the coming generations, and it just started leading. You say this person is not good enough, and the other person his status is bigger. So I think it got translated in a very wrong way. But
Okay.
it is there.
So with regards to, for example, is it true that the Brahmins do not even touch the Shudras, the lowest class?
So sensible people don't believe such things.
What do you mean sensible people? Because as far as I know, the Brahmins are the most educated amongst these.
Not anymore, right? You
Not
go
anymore.
to college, you will be educated. I'm not a Brahmin. You can go to the college.
Okay.
I'm educated. My friend could be a Brahmin, but she's not as educated as me. So it's not.
I think what I meant by educated is in terms of the religious books.
Not really.
No? So they know the language, they know Sanskrit. They are the ones who maintain these different books and rules and so on.
Not so much. Actually.
No, not anymore. Okay, maybe things have changed because if I remember correctly,
everybody has access to the same stuff these days because of the internet. So anybody can be good at anything.
Okay, but why would they have this rule, or is it written in the Vedas that they cannot touch the Shudras,
So that's what
the lower caste, or is this something that they made up?
It wasn't like that.
It wasn't like
based
that.
on occupation. So every occupation was respected. It was never meant for the Shudras to be disrespected in such a way. But I think as humans, we also have a bad side to us. We tend to think we are more important than the other or something like that. But it got translated in a really bad way, whatever was meant.
But it's still there, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's still there.
Yeah, so that is something that we need to...
So the Brahmins wouldn't marry anyone other than in their own...
So that's what I said. So there will always be a community that is pretty much
to adjust this a bit.
orthodox.
Carry on,
And they don't really follow logic or reasoning. There will be communities like that, but it is changing for the good.
Well, I don't know if it's changed. I think
I'm saying it's changing.
the Brahmins still wouldn't marry someone outside the caste, right?
No, not at all.
Not anymore?
No.
Okay. Because I remember seeing ads in the paper where they said they would only marry from the caste.
There are people like that, but the majority of the people are not like that for sure.
Okay, no, that's good if it's changing. And I think the British had a huge part to play in that, isn't it?
They wanted to split India, right? And it was divide and rule.
No, that's different, obviously. On a political...
Yeah, but even when it came to people personally, they definitely, I think they did that approach because their point was to have a monopoly of, basically a rule over people. And how could you do that? By making them fight. So I'm not sure about that history.
Yeah, because it caused a lot of unwanted, problems in the society in that. Maybe it's for their own, for the ease of their own administration and so on.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Like, it could have been that.
Okay, sorry, you wanted to say something?
I got a small, sorry for the interruption. I got two questions. You answered the first one about the caste system. My question is about, what is the concept of Atman? I think you know Atman?
Atma. Yeah, the soul.
The soul.
Yeah.
What is the concept of Atma? And what is the concept of death in Hinduism? These two
I think it's pointing towards reincarnation.
Yeah. I mean, reincarnation is cycle for when until when?
That is one of the questions I had for you, because...
Atma, where's Atman?
As far as I know, it's like they say, I'm not sure where this comes from.
Thank you.
You should fact check it. But they say you keep on taking rebirths until your life's purpose is fulfilled.
Until Mokta.
Yeah, until you gain...
Yeah, so Mokta is basically free from this
all
cycle.
Bondage.
Free from this cycle of birth and rebirth.
Yeah.
So birth and death is... so it's birth, death, and rebirth. This is the reincarnation cycle that the Hindus believe in. And they believe that one of the main, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the main objectives of every human being, at least in the Hindu faith, is to free themselves from this cycle of birth and rebirth. And the only way they can achieve this is by being a good human being, a good person. And I don't know, I mean, this is what I heard. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.